Hello, citizens of YouTube. This is the Geeky Nerd here, and today we're going to be doing a David versus Goliath, or more like a little brother versus big brother. The HK P30L, HK P30, HK P2000, pretty much that series versus the tried and true HK USP series. In particular, this is the USP Compact, and in particular, this is the HK P30L. So with that mouthful out the way, before we get too deep into it, I'd like to send a big thank you out to everyone who has liked, commented, and subscribed on all the previous videos. I always appreciate it and always enjoy talking to you guys. Let me know what you guys think, if you prefer the HK USP or P30, or if you think I'm wrong or right or what have you. I always enjoy talking to you guys and always enjoy kind of engaging with the community. And if you're new here to the channel, welcome. If you like this video and like the other type of content we have here, please consider liking, commenting, or subscribing. And with that, and the PR out the way, let's get into it. So, P30 and USP. Now, again, this is the P30L and this is the USP Compact. So they are kind of different creatures, but their DNA is similar, and I'm going to kind of talk on them. And this is going to extend to the P2000 as well, which the P2000 is pretty much sitting right in the middle. I obviously don't have one because I don't really see a point. I'd rather have a Compact than a P2000, but I'll explain why. And just kind of talking about the evolution and which one might fit you. So before we start messing with stuff here, clear. Everything is always clear, guys, before I do any kind of reviews, so don't ever have to worry about that. But still, you never know if one wild round decides it wants to just get in there. So with that, the P30 is, okay, so if you're looking for the short answer, if I have to pick one, it's going to be, if I'm looking for a gun that's going to be comfortable long-term and keep forever, it's going to be the P30. But if you're asking me if I'm looking for a gun to take me to hell and back in half of Georgia, it's going to be the USP. That's just kind of my my general take. Now, both of these guns, if you buy either one, they're going to be more reliable and more accurate than you will ever be. I'm sorry, just how it is. But there definitely is kind of a little bit of a difference between two. And first, we'll get on track record. Now, the USP has been around, well, the USP Compact at least, has been around since 1996. It's one of their most successful, USP models that they have. They have the, standard size. It was so successful, in fact, that they made P2000. Picture P2000 right here. Which essentially is a USP with P30 features. Now, you're probably saying, wow, that sounds fantastic. Sounds perfect, what I'm looking for. Well, if you're going to look at the USP, you should either love the features that are on the, or if you're looking for the P2000, if you're liking the features on there, you should either choose whether you want reliability or modern. Best way I would describe it between the two, because the P2000 doesn't really fit in the equation for me, just given the fact that, like I said, it has the USP features, but it loses some of its reliability and styling. Well, not reliability, they're all reliable, but it loses some of its tried track record reliability because the USP has been used, the P2000 hasn't been used as much, to where when you pick up a USP and a P30 and you actually compare the two, you're going to see the slides are inherently different. Now, this does carry over to the P2000. So, pretty much just take that as kind of in the back of your mind while we're getting into it. So, going apples to apples now, magazines will work in the standard P30 in the USP. So, one good thing that they share there. Obviously, the inverse is not true because won't fit, smaller grip. So, talking of the magazines, both of them do have rubber end plates. That's to obviously help when you drop them. So big difference that you're going to have is 17 rounds in the P30 versus 13 rounds in the USP. Now you're saying, wow, that's a heck of a big difference. Why is that? One reason for that is that the USP has utter reliability in mind, to where the P30 has reliability, of course, in mind, but more capacity and kind of giving the people what they want. Now, again, either one of these is going to serve you perfectly fine. It'd be more accurate and reliable than you are. But with the USP, they made the choice to have a extended base plate that kind of goes up in a stopper and an extended follower that basically limits the amount of rounds that you can put in here. But in the same time, it also reduces the amount of compression that spring is under consistently. Now, the cyclic rate of a spring is actually what wears it. So the more it goes up and down is what wearing it more than just staying at empty or full. It's that full motion that goes in between that wears the spring down. Just general, micro fissures and stress fractures amongst the spring and all that fun stuff, metallurgy. But with that, they're basically limiting the amount. Now, the P30 has a lot less, so you could fit more in there. Is that really going to make a big difference long run? No. But if you're having a gun that is consistently loaded, it's going to have a bit better time, okay, with the USP Compact as opposed to the P30. So that's just one take on the magazines. And again, with the fact that if you do want those extra rounds, you can go here. I have seen a few people do kind of custom CNC machine shops and do kind of like a jet funnel looking thing here to basically fit over here and run that, which is a pretty cool thing. Looking for one. If you guys are watching this and you make one, you have one to sell, or you know who makes one, let me know, because even though I'll take the reliability, I'm still not gonna turn away a free little jet funnel, or not free. I'll pay regardless. Moving up a bit, you can see here the grips are quite different. Now, the P30 fits in your hand better than any other pistol I've ever had, ever. I mean, it really conforms to your grip. And me personally, I usually have like the small and then the medium and then the medium on here. Have tried to change out the large, just how it fits my hand. But it just fits your hand fantastic. Now, the USP fits your hand perfectly fine. You see here, I have a medium size hands, wear medium size gloves, and I can get a full finger grip without that pinky section. Now you can kind of feel how your finger starts to slip off the bottom just a little bit, but that's where that magazine extension comes into play. It kind of just hooks your hand. So definitely not a terrible grip. I will say with the stippling kind of sandpaper-esque texture that you get with the P30 wrapped around, it is a bit better than the pyramid check ring. But overall, very nice purchase on either pistol. Definitely conforms a bit more on the webbing on your finger. In this area, you can kind of say it's a bit more smoothed out polymer, to where this is definitely not smooth, but definitely a bit more chunkier. So just kind of a preference thing. Now, one area where I definitely prefer the P30 but can use the USP is the magazine release. So the magazine release here, you can see it is crossbar. That's, again, just kind of gives a bit more material, a bit more reliability, rigidity. You do have to actuate it, but it is kind of small to hit it with your finger. I mean, definitely drops the mag, no problem. You get used to it. I use my middle finger. Not a problem. But after extended periods of time, it can kind of start, you see there, wearing a bit on your finger, because that is a tight spring and it is a small surface area. Now, on the P30, definitely not any kind of an issue, just because it is extended, it is raised out, it is flatter, so you do have a lot more of an area to grab onto. It's also a lot easier if you want to actuate it with your thumb, kind of like a button. You can do that here, to where on the USP Compact and USP Standard, it's a bit harder to do. You really got to kind of extend your reach, at least just for me. If you have big old asparagus fingers, you might be a bit better. Now, one thing I will say is that when I'm running and gunning, the little nib on here, I can feel that kind of rub on the my middle finger here. I can kind of just feel like just the ridge of that, to where I don't have that with the USP, just because it sits a bit more flush in line. So one thing to think of. So moving on up, trigger guards. I feel like this should be mentioned, because the USP is it is I always want to say carbon fiber, but it's just standard fiber reinforced polymer. USP is as well. It's just more of a copolymer. But you can see there in some of the areas and that the trigger guard has a lot less polymer overall comparatively. Same thing with the magazine well. You can kind of see there it has just a bit less overall. And of course, that's to deal with the insertion of the little side panels. Now, some people may, again, we're just doing a comparison here between the two. Some people may say, well, I don't want a detachable part for my grip that could get loose, break, what have you. It's not going to, but in the super worried case, yeah, I can see your point, to where you want a full monocore grip. So that's one thing think about there, but there definitely is reinforcements in a lot of areas. Now, moving on to the triggers, both of them do have a double action. Well, actually, let me find this one. Or they both have double action, single action. This is the LEM. This is the variant one. But they both have a half cock position, so you can hear the P30. A little click, and the USP. Obviously, a bit less. Again, they're two different trigger variations, but trigger pulls on them between the two. They were both long. They were both heavy. But between the two, P30 is just a hair lighter. I almost said a lot. It's not a lot. It's just a hair lighter. The general trigger face and trigger shoe, you see there that this doesn't have a recess here. This does have a recess there. That's because apparently when it's fully back, some people were getting some material caught back in here, so they had a little relief cup put in the bottom of the P30s. But overall, trigger shoe is fine. Not really too much to say. Now, again, these are two different variations. Yes, I know that. But in single action mode, air quotes there, single action mode, a little bit of take up here, a lot of take up there, but the brake, once you're at that wall, I'll say is a bit cleaner on the P30 overall. Now, if you were to swap this for a LEM, I'm pretty sure that they'd say it was pretty much bar even. Now, I do read on a lot of the forums that they say, oh, the USP trigger is miles ahead of the P30, or the P30 is bucks ahead. In my opinion, they're both pretty much the same. I mean, you're really splitting hairs between these two triggers when it really comes down to brass tacks. So they do operate a little bit differently, but I digress. Now, here is the USP size comparison. So kind of, let's line it up here. Again, I'm not too worried about that scratching. So definitely, now the USP or the P30 is pretty much in line with what the USP is. So you can kind of take that for what you will. Size-wise, same thing with P2000. So kind of lining it up there. See grip. So it is just a little bit smaller, not too much. Now, one thing you will notice, being this different size guns, is the USP, at least in hand, weighs as much as the P30L. At least in my opinion. Like when you're holding these two and you're just generally feeling them out, they pretty much feel the same. With the USP, I feel just having a slight edge over it. And again, that's going to the fact that this was built on a 40 caliber platform as opposed to a 9, so it's going to be overbuilt in some areas because it's built for higher pressures, which again leads to a bit more reliability, which leads to, again, why I would take to hell and back in half of Georgia. There definitely is a styling difference. You can see that the P30 is revamped, where the USP is kind of the chic 80s. So there is a proprietary rail on the USPs. This is HK standard. You can't get adapters for them, so you got to factor that in if you want additional costs. But for a carry gun, it doesn't really make a point for me. But if you are going to carry this thing with a standard USP, you will need that adapter, to where the P30 comes with a standard pick. Standard pick at the time was around when the USP was around. So definitely not an excuse for them, but everyone was kind of doing the proprietary thing, Walthers and SIGs and just everything. So I'm not sure. Well, I know why they haven't updated the USP, because if it ain't broke, don't fix it, and make the user deal with that. HK no compromise, right? But I feel like if they would update that, the USP compact would start going miles and miles ahead. But that's just my opinion. Now, magazine release, there is a bit of a difference. Slide release. Now, these are slide releases, not just slide catches. I classify a slide release as if it has checkering on it and if it was generally intended to release the slide. The USP, you can see that's clearly evident. It is very nice. Definitely has, you have no issue. Did I really just do that? Getting camera shy here, guys. Messing up. I'm like, why ain't the slide going down? But you can see there, it releases nice and easy. You don't have any kind of issues with it. Now, I feel like I'm extending just a bit to where on the P30, I definitely have more of a purchase just overall on the surface of them. Between the two, I'm going to say this feels more stout than this. This is ambidextrous, and the other side kind of just flops around. This is also, you can see, comparing the apples to apples, or apples to oranges, I would say, the USP is definitely a bit more overbuilt. Takedown is essentially the same between the two. You just kind of line it up. Now, takedown on the USP, I can do this a heck of a lot easier than I can on the P30. But it is not captured. Take this out. That side. On the P30. Here, I'll have to do this on camera, off camera. you have to pull this in because there's a lot more slide moving out. You just got to kind of pinch it, grip it. There you go. So this is captured. Again, pick your poison. Looking underneath, you can see that both of them do have essentially the same recoil system. This obviously has a bit of a difference just with this spacer with this nylon buffer in here, but essentially same thing. So definitely not nothing too crazy there. Now the USP full size does have their dual capture recoil assembly thing, which reduces recoil, which is nice. Barrels are obviously going to be different here. Again, guys, I'm just kind of giving you a general overview because while you can, compare specifics, you're really only outside of these two, you're really just getting into size differences and a bit of features like if you go the full USP. But if you're looking at a compact versus a P2000 versus a P30, which is kind of the general gist of this video, forget about the P2000, at least in my opinion. Either go all in with the P30 or stay with the USP. Looking here, between two slides, top is obviously the P30. You can see, though, that they both have similar machining as far as, machining out just because of that 9mm. You need less mass on top to be able to reciprocate that slide. But generally, kind of the same. Same, but different. Take it from the interview. You could see, though, that it's a bit more beefed up on the slides. And I'm talking about just like slightly, but in metallurgy, millimeters equal pounds, like as far as just general overbuilt, like you don't need a lot to get, return on investment, I guess you'd say. But between the two, again, they're the same. They're pretty much the same in my opinion. Now, why is that? It comes down to this. You can see the big difference there to where the P30 has more of kind of a rounded shape, taking material off here and, just generally having different aesthetics. The USP is just a bit more chunkier, a bit more overbuilt. You can see there, especially on the back, to where this is smaller than this as far as build-wise. Some of the rails, kind of, you see there, the USP is just a tad bit bigger. And generally, the theme of this gun is just a tad bit bigger. You see around the front of the barrel, general side to side, lightning cuts here, and then serrations and all that. It's just a heavier built slide, at least for the size. I mean, again, when you're having these and when you compare these two and then you're like, well, they feel the same. It's like, oh, well, why is that? So they shaved off a little bit, but again, just leads to a better built, more hefty built gun. Looking at the internals here, you can see you pretty much have the same, actually a little bit more on the P30 if you really want to, it looks like more, but it's really not. You see the little metal inserts there, pretty much have the same built up as far as internals. You can see there, you have your same kind of trigger bar, generally kind of the same looking. Now you would say that like just looking at it, that the P30 has a thicker up top, but overall I'm going to say that the USP has a bit more of a thicker polymer generally in most locations. You can see looking straight down. So kind of between the weights of these two, I'm going to say the P30 is just a bit more. I think it's just because that magazine release, that dual magazine release. So that is one thing I don't like about between the two. That just like it just flops around. I'd rather much have, I mean, I know I get it for southpaws, but at least for me personally, because I'm right-handed, it just makes more sense to not have anything ambidextrous for me, because it's just more stuff that I don't need. While there definitely is the argument to say whether or not you should have ambidextrous in case you lose the functioning of one of your arms during battle. That's a debate for you to make. Again, the fact that I have to take the P30 off of screen to be able to reassemble it, is speaking a bit to ease of disassembly, at least in my opinion, between the two. And if you are sticking around this long in this video, I thank you very much, and I hope you're enjoying. Pull this. Oh, there we go. Cool. So, yeah, that's kind of my long-winded take on the HK P30 versus the HK USP series, and then the P2000 in the middle. Said it before, I'll say it again. If you're looking at the P2000, pick what you want more. If you want utter reliability, go with USP. If you want general aesthetics, features, and styling, go with the P30. Either one is not going to, even the P2000 isn't going to disappoint you, isn't going to kind of, leave you in the dark, per se. One most important thing, this is for the special treat for you guys that stuck around this long, is that between the two, there's a big difference in finishes. So the USP, all of the USP series has what's called their hostile environment finish, and then the P30 just has their standard, black nitride, hell on earth finish. Now, both of them are going to serve you well. However, the hostile environment finish is going to just inherently be more saltwater resistant. It's going to wear a bit less and just wear more evenly than the P30, and you can really feel that when you just move your hand over the finish. You can feel that this is a lot more slick. It has more kind of almost like a tenifer, to where this, you can tell, is more of a nitride, just, over machine. But you can feel between the two that the finish on the USP is a bit more slick, and you just feel it's a bit more durable. It's one of those things where you just have to feel it to understand. And yeah, guys, if you have any kind of questions or anything like that, or let me know what you think down in the comments. Just put it all down there. And if you like this video, give it a thumbs up. If you don't like either, and you're P2000 gang, rise up, then give me a dislike or what have you. Please don't, but whatever. And with that, I hope everyone's having a wonderful, awesome, fantastic day. I'll catch you guys next time. See you guys.